Let me go back to Alan. I mean, this is the problem, Alan, that I think Israel has in terms of global opinion here, especially from America, which obviously will play a key role. If, as the report suggests, once this temporary pause is over, they start barreling through the south of Gaza, it does beg the question, well, what is going to happen at the end of this? Is the military plan to simply level the whole of Gaza to the ground with perhaps 50 to 100,000 or more civilians killed in the process? And is there any guarantee of two things? One, that you actually get rid of Hamas by doing that, because at the moment they can't say, I've already interviewed Israeli government spokesmen, they can't tell you how many Hamas terrorists they've actually killed. They don't know, right? And it may be they've all disappeared. But is that part of the military plan? And if it is, what's the plan after this? What happens to all the displaced Palestinian people? They've got no homes to go back to. And how do you avoid the obvious, in my opinion, consequence of this, which is just a massive increase in radicalisation from all those who've seen their relatives blown to pieces?
Well, the plan Israel has had since 1948 has been a two-state solution. It was offered to the Palestinians by the UN. They said no. In 1967, again, they said no. In 1990, in 2000, 2001, 2007, in Gaza, they ended the occupation, and then Hamas, by a bloody military coup, took over. I haven't seen a single sign of protest calling for a two-state solution. Hamas is against the two-state solution in its charter. It wants to eliminate Israel completely from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Free of what? Free of Jews. And then the signs also say, we want to clean the world of Jews. That's what the Nazis said. They called Jews dirty and vermin. So the answer has to be a two-state solution and a peaceful two-state solution. But you can't have a two-state solution with Hamas, because Hamas's charter is against it. Maybe the Palestinian Authority, yes. So I'm in favor of doing what the United States did after the Second World War. They totally destroyed Nazism. Lots of people died, lots of civilians died, but there wasn't an increase in radicalism. The German people realized that getting rid of the Nazis was the best thing that could happen to the German people.
Okay, let me take that point.
And I'm hoping that the Palestinian people will realize that the same thing is true. If Hamas is ended, the Palestinian people have a great future. Gaza can be Singapore in the Mediterranean instead of a place where terrorism thrives instead of feeding hungry people.
Omar, I mean, do you believe there's any future for Gaza that involves Hamas at this stage?
I think that's unavoidable. I mean, honestly, just the onslaught of untruths from Alan Dershowitz. I mean, the only person who has less regard for truth than Donald Trump is perhaps Dershowitz, and it's hard to know where to begin to respond to all of this. Let me just say, let me just say, yeah, well, I'm willing to back it up with actual facts. So here we go.
Well, first of all, on the question of Palestinian human shields,
what did I say that was wrong? Let me point it all out to you. Here, listen up. First of all, on the question of human shields, there is no question that Hamas hides in civilian areas. That's as a result of the imbalance of power, where Israel has fighter jets that fly in the sky and a massive regular military force. But the issue of human shields, the definition of human shields is holding civilians against their will and putting them in front of you in combat to deter enemy fire. And the only party in this conflict that has ever done that, documented by major human rights organizations and a matter of fact, is actually the Israeli military using Palestinian civilians, including children, as human shields. That was a matter of policy from 2000 until 2005. The Israeli Supreme Court said that has to come to an end in 2005. The Israeli military protested that decision because it is very useful for them to continue using Palestinian civilians as human shields. And even though the Israeli Supreme Court banned it, the Israeli military continues to use it to this day. There have been numerous occasions documented by Human Rights Watch, by Amnesty International, and other organizations. And it tells you what this lie is ultimately about. Because if it is true that Palestinian militants do not care about the lives of Palestinian children, then what is the point of the Israeli military using Palestinian children as human shields when they are in these confrontations? So that is simply a lie.
They don't use them. That's a lie. They just don't use them.
It is gaslighting to blame Palestinians for their own deaths.
Let me get a final quick response, please, Alan. A quick response, Alan.
If the Palestinian terrorists put down their arms, there would be peace. If Israel put down its arms, there would be genocide
Nonsense.
of the kind that occurred on October 7th. Israel cannot put down its arms, because we know what Hamas did on the 7th, they would have done to every Israeli if they had the ability to do that.
Okay.
And that's why Israel must rid
land
itself
theft
of
is
Hamas.
ongoing.
And that will benefit the world, and that will benefit the Palestinians, and that will lead to a two-state solution, which is not what my distinguished opponents
I'm sorry.
want. My
The
distinguished opponents want
the two-state
the end of
solution
Israel.
argument is nonsense. Throughout the entire so-called peace process, when Israel was pretending to be engaged in a peace process, support for Palestinian violence simply disappeared. And in spite of that, Israeli land theft continued unabated, building more and more settlements throughout
That was
the
the
entirety of the
Intifada.
West Bank.
Gentlemen,
The
we've run out of time. I'm sorry.
No, that is leading up to the
Intifada occurred
Intifada.
right after the offer of
Gentlemen,
a two-state
yes.
solution.
Gentlemen,
What you're
I have
saying
to
is
leave
a
it there.
Israel has no
total
interest in
lie.
allowing
Omar,
Palestinians to
Alan,
be
I'm
free or
sorry.
establish a state.
We've run out of time. I appreciate you both joining me. It's an important debate. We'll keep having it.
Thank you.
Please, both of you, come back again.